All right, so another little bit of review here. This one on the natural rate of unemployment, which is going to be a very, very important part of our second semester work. So natural rate of unemployment is the same idea as the full employment level for the United States. You can see the definition there. Um, we always expect some frictional and some structural, and yes, seasonal, but frictional and structural are particularly important. Frictional means there's new jobs being created that people want to seek out and are willing to leave their current jobs. And structural unemployment means we've got progress with technology that and labor saving devices that's making some workers temporarily anyway obsolete. So what kind of things affect the natural rate of unemployment? Why 5.3%? What goes into that? Other economies have higher, definitely quite a bit higher natural rates than we do. So what is it, either institution-wise or government-wise, that makes different natural rates for different economies? So the first one, the question here to think about is how do changes in the makeup of the labor force impact the natural rate of the U.S.? So this is simply a question of demographics. For example, the U.S. has a greater number of citizens between 16 and 20 than Canada. How would this affect each country's natural rate? So take a minute, think about this, come back, I'll give you the answer. Okay, so who's going to have a higher natural rate, us or Canada? The U.S. natural rate would be higher if we had a greater number of teenagers and early college age type people. They tend to have the highest level of unemployment. Why is that? Well, they just don't have as much experience. Companies don't want to commit to somebody because history shows people that are younger have higher turnover rates. They leave jobs. They're not necessarily stable. Maybe they're just there because they're living in the town and they're going to college there and they're not looking at it as a career. So the result is if you have a higher population of people that are just entering the workforce, just entering the labor force, you're going to have a higher natural rate. All right, next one. So institutions. So when we talk about institutions, in this case we mean like the kinds of vehicles through which you find jobs. Typically before the internet, it was the want ads in the paper. And now with the widespread use of search engines like Monster, and all major newspapers have their own now, and temporary employment agencies, and some of you may be aware of that, it says right there, specialize in matching workers with job openings. How is this going to affect the natural rate? So would it raise the natural rate or would it lower the natural rate, and why? So take a minute, think about it, and we'll come back with the answer. Okay, so how are these things impacting the natural rate? Both of them should lower the natural rate. And this is mainly because it's going to help with frictionally unemployed people. It facilitates, as it says there, finding jobs for people with transferable skills. Temporary job agencies get paid by the they're going to have more information than your sort of regular job searcher. On the online marketplaces just speeds things up. I mean, you still send some things through snail mail. You should always send a handwritten thank you note, word of advice. But and that's if you get an interview. But yeah, this has sped things up and lowered the time costs, so that particularly has helped the frictionally unemployed. All right, last one. How do changes in government policies impact the natural rate of unemployment? So in this one, consider two particular actions here. First of all, unemployment benefits to become more generous. And if the government raises the minimum wage to a living wage, so it would be somewhere around $15, $16 an hour, it'd be a much higher wage than we are currently seeing. That sounds awesome to some of you, but you have to consider the impact. So think about it, come back for the answer in a minute. Okay, higher unemployment benefits definitely cause higher unemployment rates, because if you have good benefits, you're likely to be more picky. You're not going to take the first job that comes along, and you're likely to be out of the workforce longer because you don't have as much incentive to get in there and get a job. Now, having said that, I am not espousing any Paul Ryan type ideas about makers and takers. In fact, the U.S. unemployment benefits relative to the rest of the world are very low. which is why we have rather low unemployment rates or relatively low unemployment rates compared to the rest of the world. Um, we'll talk about this a little bit more during fiscal policy because unemployment benefits are very, very important fiscal policy tool. Raising minimum wage, if you raised it to a living wage, businesses have less reason to hire people because it's going to cost them more. And if they do hire somebody else, they want them to be full-time and they want them to be reliable. They want them to have a good track record. So raising the minimum wage would actually hurt unskilled workers and younger workers the most, which is why there's always been some discussion about having a two-tier minimum wage system, one for people under the age of 20 and one for people who are sort of raising a family in post 20. That's just sort of an arbitrary age, but I think you get the idea because this is going to have a huge negative impact. Goodbye summer jobs, basically, if you have to get paid, $15, $16 an hour. So those are some things that impact our natural rate of unemployment or any country's natural rate of unemployment and helps you understand how we come to this number that we have in the U.S. of about 5.3%. Thanks a lot, and keep studying for the test.